I never meant to be the kind of woman who cheats. I never pictured myself crossing that line, but sometimes curiosity is louder than conscience, and one moment of weakness can cost you a lifetime of peace. It started simple, harmless, I thought. A few messages exchanged with someone I met at work. He was charming, attentive. He noticed the things my husband no longer did, complimented my hair, laughed at my jokes, asked me how I really felt, and when you're starved of emotional attention long enough, even crumbs feel like a feast. I justified it at first. We're just talking. It's innocent, but deep down I knew. I felt the thrill, the forbidden tension building like a storm behind closed doors. I stopped telling my husband about my day. I started hiding my phone, and then one night, I didn't come home. It happened in a hotel room. Quiet, private, guilt hit me the moment I stepped out of that bed. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. I told myself it was a mistake just once, but one time turned into two, and two turned into months. He never confronted me, never raised his voice, but he knew. I found out the day I noticed he stopped wearing his wedding ring. The same day he started sleeping in the guest room. The look in his eyes wasn't anger, it was emptiness. That broke me more than any fight ever could. I expected screaming, maybe even revenge, but what I got was silence and distance. He moved through the house like a ghost. Still made coffee, still paid the bills, still asked if I needed anything. But I had become a stranger in his life the same way he had become one in mine long before I ever cheated. One night I finally asked him, "Aren't you going to say something?" He looked at me calm, tired, and said, "I said everything I needed to when I said I loved you. The rest doesn't matter anymore." He packed his things 2 weeks later. No dramatic exit, no goodbye speech. Just a note on the counter, "I hope you find what you were curious about." That line still haunts me because the truth is, I did find what I was looking for, and I lost everything because of it. He looked at me across the table the next morning. Calm, composed, too calm. The silence wasn't just unsettling, it was deafening. I had rehearsed a dozen ways he might yell, cry, storm out, but never this, never silence, never stillness. I broke the quiet. I said, "Aren't you going to say something?" He sipped his coffee, eyes locked with mine. "What would you want me to say?" His tone wasn't sarcastic or bitter. It was flat, distant, like I was just a stranger sitting across from him. I felt smaller in that moment than I ever had in my life. I made a mistake. I said, voice cracking, I was stupid. I don't even know why I did it. He nodded once, slowly. "No, you knew why. People always know why. They just don't say it out loud. The truth is, I did know. I was curious. I was bored. I was flattered by someone else's attention. And somewhere in the dark corners of my mind, I thought I deserved more. More affection, more excitement, more something. But what I never realized was the price, because he didn't yell, he didn't beg, he didn't even cry. He just quietly packed an overnight bag, said he'd be staying with his brother for a while, and walked out the door. No drama, no closure. Just distance, and that's when it hit me. It wasn't about punishment. He wasn't trying to hurt me. He was disappointed, and that is so much worse than rage. The man I betrayed was the man who had never stopped choosing me, even when I made it hard. And I had thrown it away for one night of curiosity. It's been weeks now. We still talk, briefly, mostly about bills, the dog, the house, but the warmth, the laughter, it's gone. Like a light someone turned off, and I don't know how to turn it back on. He didn't say a word, and somehow that said everything. A week passed, then two. I kept expecting a message, maybe a sign that he wanted to talk, to fight for us. But silence became the routine. I started noticing the small things, the way the plants he used to water were beginning to wither, how the playlist he always played in the evenings was gone, replaced with nothing but quiet. Our home no longer felt like ours. It felt like a shell, like he had taken the spirit of it with him when he left. I tried to reach out. Can we talk? Not now. Please. I miss you. I don't know if I miss who you are anymore. That one stung. Because he was right. The version of me he loved, the one he trusted, built dreams with, was gone, and I had killed her with a choice I couldn't take back. You never really understand what loyalty feels like until you lose it. I used to feel so safe in his love, so covered. Like even if the world went mad, he'd still be in my corner. Now, even when he stands in the same room, I feel exposed, like I'm waiting for the final good. Bye I know is coming. I keep replaying the moment I crossed that line, the message I answered, the meeting I justified, the lie I told when I said, I'm just going out for a bit. If I could go back, I would scream at myself to stop. To remember that a moment of temptation could cost me a lifetime of loyalty. But we don't get that chance, do we? He hasn't told anyone, not our friends, not his family. He's protecting me even now. And that makes it worse. He's the better person in a story where I was the villain, and now I sit here, hiding this, hoping maybe one day he'll forgive me, but knowing full well I may never forgive myself. Because he didn't say a word, and in that silence, he left me to hear my own guilt loud and clear. Days turned into weeks. He started coming home later, working longer hours, not out of anger, but to avoid me. I could feel it, the distance, the quiet pain, the slow, graceful exit he was making without ever slamming a door. He was grieving the version of me he once believed in, and yet he still cooked dinner some nights, still asked if I made it home safe when I stayed late, still fed the dog, still made sure the car had gas. That's the thing about good men. Even when they're broken, they don't break you back. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I stood in front of him, tears choking my words, and begged, I'm sorry, I was stupid. I don't even have an excuse. I don't know what came over me. Please, just yell at me, say something. He looked at me, his eyes filled with something I can only describe as exhaustion, not hate, not anger, just sadness. Then he finally spoke. I did yell, just not with words. I yelled the night I didn't sleep. I yelled in the way I stopped holding you. I yelled when I didn't ask where you'd been, because I realized there's no fight to win here. You already left. You just didn't pack your bags. That silence that followed, it broke me in places no shout ever could. I wanted him to scream. I wanted punishment, because maybe then I could feel justified in hurting. But instead, he walked away from the argument I was begging for, and left me standing alone in the ruins I created. It's funny. You think cheating is an act of passion, but it's really an act of cowardice. A quiet betrayal disguised as curiosity, as attention, as just one time. But what it truly is the death of something sacred. And now, every day, I live with a man who's learning to unlove me quietly, while I learn to love myself loudly enough to live with what I did. The days feel heavier now, not because of drama or fights, but because of the silence, the kind of silence that echoes louder than shouting ever could, the kind that says, I don't trust you anymore, without even saying it. He still lives here, still breathes the same air, but emotionally, he's on another planet. He doesn't look at me the way he used to, with fire, with faith, with that unshakable belief that I was his person. Now he looks through me, like I'm a stranger wearing someone he used to love, and I don't blame him. People think the worst part of cheating is getting caught, but the truth is, the worst part is watching someone lose their peace because you couldn't keep your promise. Watching them go numb because feeling anything hurts too much. Sometimes I catch him staring out the window, and I wonder if he's imagining life without me. I wonder if he's already met someone new in his mind, someone who wouldn't trade loyalty for a fleeting thrill. And I can't even be mad, because if I were him, I'd be doing the same, and the guilt, it doesn't just come at night. It comes when I hear a love song we used to dance to. It comes when I fold his laundry. It comes when he forgets to kiss me goodbye, and I know it wasn't really a mistake. It was a choice. That's what cheating does. It's not just the act. It's the after. It's the poison that drips into every moment after the betrayal. Until what you had is unrecognizable, now I live in a home filled with polite distance. He's kind, he's respectful, he's tired, and I'm trying, desperately, to fix something I shattered. But love isn't a vase you can glue back together and expect it to hold water. It might look whole from a distance, but up close, you'll always see the cracks. I've apologized, again and again, but some wounds don't respond to "I'm sorry." They need time, space, and even then, they may never heal. Sometimes I wonder if he's staying because he hopes he'll love me again, or if he's just staying because walking away would break him more than staying ever could. And I want to ask him. But I'm scared of the answer, because deep down I know I may never get him back, not the real him, not the man who used to laugh with me until 2 a.m., not the man who used to trace his fingers across my back like he was reading a story he couldn't get enough of, not the man who once looked at me like I was home. I traded something real for something empty, and now I sit in a house that feels full of ghosts, ghosts of who we were, ghosts of what we could have been. If you're listening to this and you're tempted, if you think a moment of excitement is worth the risk, let me be your warning. Curiosity may open doors, but some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. And sometimes the loudest heartbreaks come from the ones who never say a single word. It's been months now. We still live under the same roof, eat at the same table, sleep on opposite sides of the same bed. But nothing feels the same. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't throw things. He doesn't call me names. He just exists, like a shadow of the man I once knew. And somehow, that silence hurts more than if he had screamed. Every time I see him folding laundry or washing dishes, every little kindness, it crushes me, because I know he's doing it out of habit, not love. And I wonder, is he still here because he's hoping he'll feel something again? Or because he's punishing himself for not being enough? And I want to scream, "You were always enough. I was the one who failed." But the words get stuck because I don't deserve to be comforted. I see the way his eyes linger on photos from the past, the ones where we're laughing, arms wrapped around each other. I see the pain in his smile when he pretends everything is fine around friends. And every time I ask myself, how long can someone stay when their heart left long ago? I've thought about leaving, about freeing him from this ghost of a relationship, but every time I pack a bag, he makes me tea, leaves a blanket on the couch, takes out the trash before I can, little gestures that whisper, I haven't given up yet, so I stay. I fight for the scraps of the love I once had. I write letters I'll never send. I go to therapy. I pray. I sit in our bedroom and cry silently while he showers. And every day I wait, hoping that maybe, just maybe, he'll look at me again like he used to. That he'll reach for my hand. That he'll let me in. Not because he pities me, but because he still believes in what we were and what we could be. Because I still believe. Even now, even after everything. Yesterday, he came home late. I had dinner waiting, his favorite. He looked tired, worn out in the kind of way that doesn't come from work, but from carrying something heavy in silence. Something like me. He sat across from me, barely eating. No words, just the sound of forks against plates and two hearts too afraid to speak. Then, in the middle of that quiet, he said something so soft. I almost missed it. I don't know if I can ever forget, but I don't want to stop trying. And my hands started shaking, because after all this time, after all the hurt, he's still trying, not because I deserve it, not because it's easy, but because some part of him still remembers love, still remembers us. And in that moment, I knew healing doesn't always come in grand gestures. Sometimes it comes in quiet dinners, in showing up when it's hard, in sitting at the same table even when it hurts. We may never go back to what we were, but maybe, just maybe, we can become something new. Something built not on illusion, but on truth, pain, and the choice to stay. And for now, that's enough. The days after that conversation were strange. We were both there in the same house, breathing the same air, but everything felt unfamiliar, like waking up in your own bed but not recognizing the ceiling. He didn't hold me, didn't kiss my forehead like he used to. But he didn't leave either. He stayed, and sometimes staying is louder than any words. I caught him one night, sitting alone on the couch, staring at a photo of us from 5 years ago. I watched his fingers brush over it like it was something precious, something already lost, and my heart broke all over again because I did that. My choices rewrote his memories, turned warmth into doubt, love into pain. I wanted to speak, to say something, anything. But what do you say to the man whose soul you betrayed, who still looks at you like you're the ghost of the woman he once loved? I sat next to him quietly, didn't touch him, didn't beg. After a long silence, he whispered, "You don't have to keep apologizing. Just show me every day." And I nodded, tears rolling down my face, because sometimes forgiveness doesn't come as a gift. It comes as a challenge. He's not the same. I'm not either. But maybe this is how real love is forged, not in perfection, but in choosing each other after the fire. So I stay, I listen, I rebuild brick by brick, not asking for the past, but praying for a future that's honest. And if he ever smiles again, really smiles, maybe I'll believe I'm still worthy of it. Maybe we both will. It's strange how silence can be louder than screaming. Some nights we sat at the same dinner table, forks scraping plates, glasses clinking, but no real words between us. I wanted to say so much, but all I could do was show up every day without asking for anything back. I folded his laundry, left notes in his lunch bag, small things like, "Hope today feels a little lighter," or "Thank you for still being here." He didn't always respond. Sometimes he'd nod, sometimes nothing, but he never threw those notes away. I watched him closely, not out of fear, but out of respect, learning to love him the way he needed, not just the way I wanted. And slowly, I started noticing the cracks letting light in. One day, he handed me a cup of coffee, didn't say a word, just set it beside me, but it was his way of saying, "I see you trying." Another night, I walked into the room and caught him watching me with tired, wounded eyes. He said softly, "Sometimes I hate how much I still love you." And I broke, because I understood exactly what that meant. Love doesn't vanish. It doesn't always protect. But when it survives betrayal, it becomes something raw, something real. We started therapy not just to fix us, but to understand who we had both become. He opened up slowly about the humiliation, the shame, the silent battles he fought at 2 a.m. while lying next to me, and I told him everything, not just the affair, but the emptiness that led me there, the way I mistook curiosity for permission and selfishness for freedom. He didn't flinch. He didn't run, he listened, and one day, months later, he reached for my hand in public. No words, just fingers finding mine, and that was the first time I believed we might be okay, not perfect. Not the same, but real, and real is more than I deserve, but it's everything I'll fight for. We didn't have a celebration moment, No big movie scene where we kissed in the rain, just ordinary days that started to feel less heavy. He started joking again, not loud belly laughs, but the soft sarcasm I fell in love with. I stopped checking his eyes every second for signs of anger, and he stopped watching the clock when I left the house. The wounds didn't disappear, they just stopped bleeding. I remember the first time he left his phone on the table, face up, unlocked, walked out of the room. He didn't say anything, but I knew that was trust reborn. I didn't touch it, didn't want to, because trust has to be sacred or it means nothing. We still argue, still have hard days, but now we fight to understand, not to win. And the biggest change, he looks at me. And I don't feel small, I feel known, not just the good parts, not just the pretty face or the charming voice. He knows the worst of me and still chooses to stay. That's not weakness. That's love in its most unfiltered form. And maybe you're watching this right now, wondering if your broken story can be rebuilt, if the person you hurt or the person who hurt you can ever be trusted again. Let me tell you this, it's possible. But it's not guaranteed, because rebuilding trust isn't about fixing the past. It's about proving every day that your present is stronger than your mistake. It's long, it's quiet, it's uncomfortable. But if you're both still holding on, there's something worth saving. We didn't erase the affair. We just stopped letting it define us. And now, every hug, every glance, every I love you that we mean feels like a win we earned. Sometimes I still wake up and wonder if I imagined the whole thing. If maybe I dreamed the betrayal, or worse, dreamed the healing, but then I roll over and he's there, breathing softly, arms stretched toward me like muscle memory. He doesn't say it, but in the way he pulls me close in his sleep, I know. He still chooses me, and I choose him too, every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because that's what real love becomes after trust breaks a choice. Not a feeling, not a fairy tale, just two people, choosing each other again and again, even after the easy part died. So no, we're not who we were before, but in a way that's the gift. We had to earn each other all over again. And in doing that, we found something deeper than the illusion of perfection. We found honesty, we found humility, we found us. Sometimes the most broken love stories don't end. They just rewrite themselves with scars, with silence, with second chances, but always with truth.